Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for May 12th, 2023. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating and sharing my screen. And also present are Afra Shal and Ralph Kohler. It's a small group today. So to get us started off, I have the issue for today's meeting up. I assume you can see that?
Yes.
It's issue 3358491. And I'd like to start by, just for kicks, because you might not be aware of it, I noticed that just a few hours ago, this issue was fixed. It's 3278493. Make it easier for theme builders to enable twig debugging and disable render cache. And I guess if, and also, as usual, I have set up a sample site. I'll share the link in the Zoom chat. You can log in as admin. And if you go to the admin menu, and under configuration development, there's a new item, development settings. And I think the do not cache markup was already available, but under performance, so it's moved from there. I'm not sure about that. But the main thing is that there's this new option, twig development mode. And if you enable that, and I think maybe you have to clear caches once. Oh no. I'm opening up the my browser's inspector, and it shows all the twig debugging comments. It shows the twig template suggestions and so forth. So it also does some other things that are described in the help text. Provides the dump function for debugging. It outputs the template suggestions, HTML comments, which is what I mainly use it for. And it automatically recompiles twig templates after changes. So yeah, that got in just today. Oh, and Ralph in the chat mentions that the cache markup was not there under development performance. So was this not available anywhere in the UI?
Yeah, I don't remember that in the UI.
Oh, so maybe this is new as well. So previously, this functionality was available, but in order to do it, you had to make some edits to settings.php and enable a services.yaml file. So you had to edit a couple of files on the system. Now it can be done through the user interface. So that's a fun feature.
Great improvement.
Yes. Oh, Aaron just mentioned in Slack that he'll be late for the meeting. Well, we already knew that, Aaron. And I know that Aaron wants to discuss the block layout issue, 3318112. Do we want to start discussing that or wait for Aaron? Ralph,
I
are
have
you
one
prepared?
question about the feature you just showed us.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And that's about the first. So twig develop. My question would be, why is this not? And maybe we spoke about it in the meeting because I missed. why not having twig development mode just like that in a nice box, always there and not hidden behind twig development mode click?
Why the progressive disclosure?
Yes.
So we have not discussed this before. I first became aware of this issue 1 week ago to 2 weeks ago at MidCamp. And we haven't brought it up. So as so the people working on the issue decided on that pattern.
Because I'm trying at work, trying to avoid accordion slideshows, etc., especially when they're like overused. And depends how much they hide and is it meaningful, or how much did it solve from a problem? Like, did it make it less cluttered, or is it now okay, great, everybody can do click, click, click instead of two or something?
Yeah, I think the idea is that these two checkboxes are sort of fine-tuning the behavior of the twig development mode. And most people are expected to do what I did, which is enable this box and then save settings. And there are some edge cases
Oh,
where
if
you want
you
to enable part of it, but not both. Go ahead.
okay, I missed that. So once you click the first time, you did need to go and click twice. On the others, they like automatically selected.
Right. Once you click the first box, the other two are selected by default.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think it makes
there's
more sense now.
okay. There are a couple of follow-up issues. And in fact, these two choices here are a little different from what they were 2 weeks ago when I first looked at it. I think also it's now a separate page. 2 weeks ago when I looked at it, it was a new section on the performance page. But yeah, so again, shall we discuss block layout? Or Ralph, would you like to bring up one of the issues you mentioned?
Yeah, I think the block layout, we could wait until Aaron arrives.
Right.
He brought it up. And I think I had two issues in mind. One was the project browser error messages, but it might be too long for today. The other one is one that was added a while ago by Stephen Musgrave. And he brought it up recently again as the one issue that is on the waiting for a while now. It's about content translation overview should add destination query parameter. Add the link to the
This one, 3025, yes, 3025384. So shall I keep sharing my screen?
I have an installation here to with the patch installed. That way it's easier to show.
Okay, go ahead. Be my guest.
Okay, 1 second. Right, and Oops, something went wrong. 1 second. I prepared it right before and check it out. Okay, now I'm ready. Share screen. Share. You see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Issue is the following. I can quickly remove the patch again and display the current behavior. And after that, reapply the patch.
I guess you've installed the standard profile, not umami.
Yeah. And I've added a third language. I have English, German, and French installed now, because I think that's an important detail if there are more than one extra language, more than 2 languages installed. Let's make flush cache here. Okay. Point is current behavior. If you go here, if you're on the admin content page and click on translate, and let's say add German, mein erster Artikel, and now you have save in parentheses this translation, and you get forwarded to the view on the node page, on the one created right now. If we go back now, and I've prepared a second article in English as well. And if you're on here, you go on to translate again, add mein zweiter Artikel. You get also forwarded to the view page. Now I quickly apply the patch again. Move back, flush caches, delete those 2. Now, if I go here, go to translate and add mein erster Artikel. Now I go save this translation and I get forwarded to the admin content page again, which I consider on the first thought good. But now if I go to my second article again, go to translate, go to add, save, I get forwarded to the translations page on that node instead of getting forwarded to the view. So it's sort of an inconsistent behavior. And also depending on, that's the point why I've added a third language here, is the case you don't actually know if the editor is, or the translator is only capable translating to a single language, or if the person is able to, for example, translate English into German in that case, and French. So I wonder if it would make sense if you on here, for example, add to have in both cases more than one button, meaning you could save and return, for example, to the translation page, or save and return to the admin content page, or the view page, depending on if you're in which context you're coming from, the admin content page or the dedicated node page. And on a side note, in regards of the micro copy, but that was also is out of the scope for this issue. But it's also a bit odd having parentheses, save in parentheses this translation, why add parentheses at all there? But yeah, it's a bit confusing, even though the gist, forwarding to pages that keep the person in flow who is editing, is definitely a good thing, but in detail it has a few problems from my point of view.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. So the question is how you get to the page to add a translation. And if you start from admin content, start from the list of content, then it adds a destination parameter.
Yeah.
And that's familiar even for those of us who don't do multilingual much, that if you use the edit button from that page, it adds a destination parameter, and when you submit the form, you return to the content listing.
Yep.
And the other way to get to the translation page is either view or edit an article and use the tab. And so
Also adding a destination parameter there.
So going back to the translations tab.
Exactly. In the context of node pages, the destination is the translation page of that node. And in the context of the admin content page, the destination is the admin content page.
Okay, so this issue is not changing the destination parameter already added by the content page, but it's adding a destination parameter to the links from the translate page. Yes?
Looks. Let's edit here. If we go over here. It's already added on the translation page.
So yeah, we do sometimes use the pattern of adding a secondary button. Like I think just a year or two ago, we did that for the taxonomy list pages. So when you look at all the terms in a vocabulary, so what was it? When you add a term to the vocabulary, the old behavior was that when you submit the form, you return to the add term page. And we added the secondary buttons to save the term and go back to the list. And you're suggesting that we use that same pattern for translations?
At least a similar pattern, but at the moment with the patch applied, it's a bit confusing where you will end up. Before the patch, it always sent and forwarded the user to the node view page, but now it's a bit inconsistent, and it depends. With my example, for example, you have a page with 3 or 4 languages, and you don't know how many languages an editor is able to translate and what the desired destination should be. So having at least a second choice might be a good idea. That was my thinking behind.
And can you remind me what is the current behavior with this patch?
Current behavior, if you are on content and go to translate and add a translation, you get forwarded to, for example, mein erster Artikel. If you edit a translation for the first article, then you get forwarded here. And similar or identical destination in case you go in here, translate, then you get also forwarded to the view page.
So under what circumstances do you end up back on the translation, the list of translations?
With the patch applied, if you go, for example, to my article on the node, my second article, and you go to translate and you add French, article, French is, then you get back to the translation page.
So it depends on two steps in the history of how you got there. Is that the point? From the translation page, you go to add translation, and you go ahead.
The destination, in case you're in the context of a node, the destination gets added as soon as you click the add button on the translation page. For in the context of the admin content page, the context already get added as soon as you click the translate button, as you can see. So one step before compared to the node page.
I agree that it's confusing. What do you think, Offer?
Sorry, I missed that last part because I got called and I gotta go. So sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that the current behavior of the patch is confusing, and it would be clearer to add a secondary save button.
One detail, I think it was in comment number 11 by Alex Pott. I've tested this manually, and I think this makes a lot of sense. But if one concern at the moment, when you add a new translation to an existing node, you can take into the view the translation once you're finished. This patch changes the behavior, either taking you to admin content or node knit translate, depending on how you started. That's quite a big change that I'm not sure is correct, because adding is very different from adding something that exists already. I think that this needs discussion.
Right. So he's bringing up exactly the point that you brought up, right?
Yep. The only thing I'm not sure is should the destinations for those two buttons be identical depending on the context, meaning that the behavior and the options between the admin content context and the node context are the same, or should they slightly vary, but based on the button label be clear?
So if we did what you're suggesting, and add the secondary button, would we always add that? Would we only do it when we're adding a new translation? Would we do it when we're editing an existing translation?
Good question. What is the behavior if we are, let's say, translation? Yeah, the destination is still set to admin content for
Yes.
editing, same as for adding. Let's quick confirm in the context of mein zweiter Artikel. Translate. Let's edit it. Yeah. Same. So
Wait, can you go back or click the edit button again?
for German, yeah.
That says node 7 edit question mark destination equals VE node 7 translations. Oh, okay. I'm having a little trouble distinguishing a 7 from a question mark
Oh, okay.
in the URL. If I make the screen larger, then it's easier. Okay, so don't worry too much about the current patch. What do we want to do? Do we think that we should always have a secondary submit button? And should it always go to translations? Should we only have that when we're adding a translation? One other thing that I'm a little worried about, it's fine to have a secondary button, but if you do that, then you have to decide what the link text will be on that button. And I'm having trouble coming up with anything that's not really, really long.
Yeah. On the terms page, it's save and go to list comparison. And I agree.
Yeah.
Ideally, the goal should be maximum 2 or tops 3 words per button label. So
Yeah, so this is already a little too long.
Yeah.
And
as I said, I also not really like having in parentheses for that button. And I wonder why this translation has to be added there, because
Okay, but let's
yeah, no, but it's sort of important in regards if you have two as primary and a secondary button, and you have to find appropriate wordings, then that is relevant to the primary button with save and this translation as well. So I mean, it probably won't be ideal to keep that label in case a secondary button is added. That I've tried to express. Oh, Aaron joined.
hello, Aaron.
Hello, sorry, it's a little bit noisy where I am right now.
Aaron.
I see it's just the three of us. It seems
Right.
like. What are we
Offer was here earlier, but he had to drop. Go ahead.
okay. What issue are we looking at?
I've pasted the issue in the chat. It's content translation overview should add destination query parameter.
Oh yes.
Are you already familiar with that issue?
I've seen it. I don't know if I don't know if I've looked. I haven't looked at it in much detail, but I sort of understand the general idea. I imagine it's a bit more complex because it's to do with translations and things.
I could quickly make two examples. I've demonstrated to Benji if you want to, or should we go?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, I will just delete those translations again. Oh, no. Point is, we are on admin content, and you set two options to add a translation. You can go here, add translate. As you can see, a destination parameter is added, pointing to admin content. If I add, for example, German, mein erster Artikel, click save this translation, I'm forwarded back to admin content. If I go now to my second article, go there to translate, as you can see, no destination parameter is added yet. But now if I click add, a destination parameter pointing instead of to admin content, pointing to Node 7 translations. Mein zweiter Artikel. Save, and I'm pointed to that. Before that, in both contexts, I was pointed and forwarded to the view page of the newly created node. And that's a bit of a confusing behavior between those two contexts. And also the point, if you have more than two languages installed and you don't know if the editor who is editing is able to translate into, for example, from English into German and French in that case, or if the person is only able to translate to German or only to translate to French. So you're always not sure where the person wants. So having some sort of option might be an idea, and I've suggested similar to what Benji pointed to, the terms page where you have a save and go to list option with a secondary button.
Yeah, I was just thinking the exact same thing, because there's a number. I mean, this is a perfect example of somewhere where, you know, you might want to go to. There might be multiple places you want to go to. So yeah, I think that's a really sensible idea, and because otherwise there's not going to be a solution here which satisfies everybody, I think.
And it could become quite annoying if you always have an extra click. For example, if you pointed to the translate page, but you wanted, or it's the content page and you wanted to stay on the translate page, or the other way around, and so forth. It's tricky.
Yeah, definitely.
And
yeah,
also,
totally agree.
And also one detail to note, the behavior with the appending of the destination parameter is identical between add a node and editing an already existing node. Benji noted and wanted to see, and we tried, and it's the parameter is always similarly, sorry.
Yeah, so I guess we agree on the secondary button idea, but then we have to come up with some sort of text, and what we have on the taxonomy page, save and go to list, is already too long, but I can't think of anything even that short. Save and go to translations list. Ugh.
How about translate more, or translate more languages, or into other languages, something like that?
Yeah, the two words other languages are already too long, and anything you add to that. Save and translate.
Save and translate.
But does that, I suppose as a rest that's slightly ambiguous, because that could mean, in this case, save and like add another translation, or that could just mean, save, you're already adding a translation. So does that mean just save the translation you're just adding? It's because the term translate is quite often used. You look at, like, I don't know, any translate service, the sort of submit button for the form will usually be just say translate. The example I quite like, that I mean, generally speaking, is what I would like to see used more in core, is the example I brought up from the Django framework, which is you have save, and you have save and add another, and then save and continue editing. And I quite like it because they do exactly what it says. So I don't know if save and add another makes sense in this context.
Well, if add another means add another translation, that's exactly what we're talking about, going back to the list of translations.
Right. I guess it depends because I'm quite keen, if we were to do that, that would apply to like config entities, because it would take you straight to the add form, I suppose, is what I'm thinking in my head. But this is, as you said, it's like save and go back to list kind of thing.
But what was the third option from the Django framework? Save and keep?
So there's, save and continue editing is the third button.
But in case that there's no chance of a data loss. Or for basically editing a revision in that case.
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
No, I just was trying to understand what save and continue editing, what the purpose for that was, and what's the difference to the general save.
It's you. I mean, it basically keeps you on the edit form, right? So like instead of directing you back to the listing view, you know, because basically this is quite useful if you're when you add something, you can save and it takes you. I think it just takes you back to the listing page or something. Then the save and add another, it saves it, but then it takes you straight back to the add form to add an additional one. So it completely skips the list page. And the save and continue editing, it saves it, but then you stay you go to the edit form of the item you just created. That's why I'm not sure if they're totally applicable in this case, but that's a kind of pattern that I'd like to advocate for across other parts of core.
Just for clarification, one question: those 3 buttons were in the context of node creation, but not translation creation.
Yeah, I was thinking those would be for like in the Drupal world, those would be like adding config entities. Was my thought. Again, it's why I think it's not entirely applicable here, but it's
Okay, my first thought was that save this translation with or without the parentheses is unnecessary and it should just be save. But now I'm changing my mind. And I'm thinking that if we keep the words this translation, maybe get rid of the parentheses, but if we keep the words this translation and then use exactly the same text that we're using on the taxonomy page, save and go to list, I think that makes sense.
But one question, if we're in the context of admin content, what would save and go to list mean? Would it mean go to the translation page or go to the admin content page?
It is ambiguous, but people would learn pretty quickly.
Well, or how? So where would save this translation forward the user, and where would save and go to list? I think it would make sense on save this translation forward to the admin content and save and go to list to the translation page.
So the first button, the primary button, would respect whatever destination parameter is given. So if there's no destination parameter, it goes to view the translated node. And if there is a destination parameter, it returns there. The secondary button would ignore the destination parameter and always go to the list of translations.
Yeah, I think the destination parameter should only be respected on the primary button. Because we intentionally leave that kind of ambiguous compared to the other buttons.
And I think using exactly the same text that we're already using on the taxonomy page will help establish a pattern. We could also, as a follow-up issue, shorten that text, replacing the and with a comma. Have we considered that before? Did we decide that was a bad idea?
Save, comma, go to list.
Right. But whether or not that's a good idea, if we are using the same button text in both places, we can consider it in a second issue, in a follow-up issue. So let's, unless there's something else unless there are other ideas you have, let's end the discussion here.
Yep.
Make a suggestion, but not a recommendation on the issue, and spend the last 10 minutes talking about the block layout.
Yeah, all good.
I will just say I prefer the and to the comma, but
Okay.
Yeah.
that's just just an initial impression, I think. So, but yeah, we can. I'm keen to also talk about the block layout issue.
Give me just a second. Yeah, this is the right window. Okay. So going back, this is issue 3318112. Moving the layout from structure to appearance. So we've already, so the current state of affairs is that we have two links under structure, block layout and block types. Block types lets us add or edit an existing block type, and block layout is the link that has always been there under structure. And we would like to move that to appearance. And the current state of this issue is that it adds a link. Here's a screenshot. I'll make this a little larger. So it adds this legacy link under structure where it currently is, and then also adds it under appearance. So Aaron, you wanted to discuss this. What's your current thinking?
Yeah, I'm just the thing that my only concern with it is that using the term legacy could imply that the block layout itself is a legacy thing. So I just wonder if there's a risk for confusion there.
Yeah, the previous iteration in this screenshot was just to use the word legacy.
Yeah.
And we were trying to address exactly that concern by saying legacy link rather than just legacy.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is slightly better. I don't know. I'm wondering if I thought obviously bringing it up here. I mean, ideally we would have more than just the three of us in the call, but you know, just to sort of get some more, you know, just maybe there is potentially something that conveys that it's, and maybe the word link does that, but you know, that conveys that the block layout itself isn't yet legacy, because you know, maybe layout builder will replace that eventually. But that it's just it's basically that link itself. So I just wonder if legacy link is still has a little bit of potential for confusion. And I suppose we do display a warning message when you click on that link, because am I correct to understanding it's the link for the redirect?
That's right. And I think previous screenshot, maybe not, but yes, it gives you the same warning message that you would use if you had a bookmark to the old page.
And yeah, that does specify that like admin structure block layout is or what does it say again? I forget how we structured that text. But yeah.
Surely there must somewhere be a screenshot with the warning message. There it is.
Oh,
No.
oh,
That is not it.
nope. That is an unfortunate warning message, but not the one we want.
Oh, well, I will add a screenshot if there isn't already one.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's a way we can maybe use the if we can visually indicate. So you know how there's the icon, it's like a yellow triangle with an exclamation mark, usually indicates that there's something, and you know, I don't know if we actually, I can't remember if we use that anywhere in core, but like it's used to, you know, alert the user that this is something that's, you know, needs attention or is different. I'm just wondering if we can maybe, if there's something like visually like that that we could use to draw attention to the fact that this is changing, or wait, there is actually, yes, that exact one. I knew I'd seen it somewhere.
Right, on the status report page, it's a
Yeah.
warning symbol, a warning icon.
I wonder if I'm thinking about like the description, is that could that go in there as well, or
So you mean hover text?
like
Or
the link
title
description, the one
Oh,
the one that appears below the link. Like if I wonder if using the, because do we use the link description to describe that it as a legacy link as well?
So if you go to the structure page, is this the description you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, I think that this same text appears as the title attribute on these links. And I don't know whether Zoom captures this, but it's showing up as hover text.
Oh, I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Then I guess Zoom is not capturing it, but I certainly see it.
Yeah, I guess it probably wouldn't be easy to add that image to the description then. Probably not impossible, but probably not straightforward. Do we use the same description text on the proposed resolution? I think we might have, at one point it might have been changed, but yes, block layout is now under appearance.
link will be removed in a future update.
Yeah.
Right, so that same text would appear if someone hovers over the link.
Yeah. So we probably can't add an image to that then, I'm guessing. I imagine it doesn't support HTML tags.
Well, I can do a little test. I guess you'll have to take my word for it. But if I use my browser tools and I guess first I have to find how to get that text, but I don't have quite enough time for this because it's now 1 minute before the hour.
Yeah.
But you'd like to have some sort of warning icon in the title attribute of this or this description?
I was thinking the description, I guess it's just, I'm thinking of a way that we can, you know, draw enough attention to the description, which, you know, explains that it's moving, to potentially mean we don't need the word legacy in the title. that's what I'm thinking. Unless, if I think legacy link is, I'm not against it. I just wonder, that's the thing I worry is there still potential for somebody to confuse what the meaning of that is? But I suppose if they're looking at description, it's probably fine.
Okay, well, I am going to cut off discussion because it is at the top of the hour. I have a couple of ideas I'd like to think about. I'll share them in Slack.
Sounds good.
But thank you for coming, and I hope we can find a good solution for this.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.